What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Super Gamer Boys. I'm your host and captain, Garrett Morlang, and here in the virtual studio with me is the nerd dad, Zetch Keenan. Hiya.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Yeah, he said something this week. He finally said something this week.
Yeah, now you guys know for real that I'm here.
Last week, you left everyone, all the audio listeners, hanging there.
And I just gave everybody a thumbs up and was like, yeah, I hope you heard that.
Just giving a thumbs up really fast.
Yeah.
And also joining us this evening is very spiffy, the one, the only, JJ Purdom.
Konnichiwa, my friends. Thank you very much. I am now wearing the Super Gamer Boys t-shirt that you can also purchase online. We also have mugs with my face on it. Those guys too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, with all of our faces on it, technically.
Technically, yes. But my face is in the center, and it's larger than both your guys's. The head portion is.
I made everything anatomically correct, so it is a very, very large head of yours.
You got my hair right.
Spot on.
You did.
Spot on.
You didn't.
You got
get
JJ
my
hairs
hair
right too.
Yeah. Both of them. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on just our hair, let me tell you. I wanted to make sure all of our hairs were pretty much spot on.
Key feature. When you look like a pixel, the hair is very important. It's kind of all you got.
Yeah, everything else kind of looks the same because we're all white dudes with beards, but that's the hair. You're looking at the hair and be like, oh, okay, I know who that is.
Okay, I recognize you by the hair. Or lack thereof.
Man.
Cool.
How you doing, Zetch?
Good. I'm in week 2 of my quarantine life.
Okay. Still hanging in there.
Hanging in.
You haven't caught the Rona yet.
Nope.
So
I'm pretty sure I'm free and clear. I don't think I'm Ronatized at all. You know, I'm hanging on to the de-Roma life. Rona like the tomato.
Roma. I got that Coroma.
But yeah. No, but it's been a pretty good week. I finally beat Final Fantasy VII. I'm excited to talk about that a little bit later. Pretty cool. So I'm actually in a discussion with my good uncle on Twitter. So, and I totally understand his point. The man isn't wrong. Okay, the man is not wrong. So basically, I had said on Twitter, I beat Final Fantasy VII, one of the greatest experiences ever. Super fun. Everybody should play it. Solid 9 out of 10. Right? Gabe responds back, it's a remake, so it can't be better. It can't be good. It can't be that good. It's basically what he's saying. He's like, it can't be, one of the best games, one of the best RPGs.
But it can.
But it is. So and as I said, okay, and I went into that game with the exact same mindset. I even replied back. I was like, look, I know what you're saying, man. I went back in there with that same mindset. I didn't think it was going to be that good since it was a remake. But you know what it's like? It's like when you watch Lord of the Rings, the theatrical versions, and then you watch Lord of the Rings extended. Okay? Like, you can't have the extended without the originals, but the extended adds so much more meat and potatoes and fills in so many gaps and fleshes out so many more characters in so many more ways that you kind of can't watch that movie without watching the extended versions. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, 100%. Yeah. Now, whenever I watch the theatrical versions now, I'm like, something's not right. Like, that's not the whole story. Like, it always throws me off because you really do miss out on so much. And I've never played the original Final Fantasy, but yeah, that makes sense. Like, it'd be so weird to play that and be like, wait a second.
I mean, and to his point, like, it is a remake, right? And it does do a few things wrong. That's why it's not like a perfect 10 out of 10. But I mean, when you compare Final Fantasy VII to Final Fantasy VII Remake, you can tell that it's not. He used the word that it was lazy. That was like a cash grab, which he's 100% right.
Oh yeah,
and it is.
It was already one of the. It was already one of the most favorite Final Fantasy games, and then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna remake it." It's like, oh yeah, of course. That's it's easy money.
Yeah, totally. But they were like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right, and they
did it right.
Really did it right. So anyway. I'm excited to beat that game. That game is a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite RPGs ever. Dang. And I look forward to really kind of giving it more details later. But anyway.
You heard it here first. Final Fantasy VII is Zetch's favorite Final Fantasy game.
That's not what I said. Don't take words out of context.
How are you doing,
What
JJ?
up?
How are you doing, JJ?
To be perfectly honest, I'm having a really crappy day. It's Monday as we're recording this today, and I am currently towards the end of day 8 of a cleanse, where what that means is I have not eaten any food. I've been drinking some lemon cayenne pepper water with maple syrup in it all week as my sustenance, and not drinking coffee. And this is 8 days of this, as my boss swore up and down to me, "This is the greatest, dude. I feel like $1,000,000. I feel so good and cleaned out." And then
Yeah, he's like the first 3 days are rough, but after that, man, I feel like $1,000,000. Never felt better in my whole life.
Right. And so I'm here to tell you he's full of crap. So, or maybe not, and I'll get to that point in a moment. Yeah.
Very little crap.
Therein lies the crux of the problem, because one of the things that he told me was, he said something that was very learned. He said, "JJ, just do yourself a favor on this cleanse. Don't trust farts." And so I took that as, oh, so I need to not trust that. And let me tell you, day 2, I found out why he did not want me to, fully, completely trust in them. So I have no trust in farts whatsoever, because you just can't trust them.
If you can't trust a fart, what can you trust?
Nothing, really. It comes down to nothing, Zetch, and that's my point. So I'm 8 days in, and I haven't had any food, and I haven't had any coffee, and everybody's drinking coffee and food, and they're all happy like I used to be, and they're all whistling and singing like I used to be, and all I think is, screw all of you people that get to eat food and drink coffee and whistle and sing, because that's all I want to do all the time. I literally wake up in the morning whistling and singing and happy every freaking day. The last 8 days? Oh, hell no. No, the last 8 days I'm waking up and going, oh my God, I got to do it again. More of that lemon pepper crap water.
Why are you doing this?
Peeing out of my butt. I don't know. Something about health or something.
Can you stop anytime you want?
No, I'm crazy. Zetch, I have mental problems. I am really bad at quitting things. I have a mental disorder.
I can quit that.
Okay?
I don't quit things either. But you know what? I quit that in a heartbeat. I quit that before I even started. Every time, hey, Zetch, want to do a cleanse? No. I'm good.
Our boss also tried to get me to do it. He's like, "Come on, dude, everyone's starting on Sunday. I'm already doing it. JJ's starting up. My wife's starting back up. One of our other coworkers is going to start doing it." And he's like, "Come on, you can do it." I'm like, "I'm really interested, but I got a baby coming and all this stuff." And he's like, "What does that have to do with you doing a cleanse?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I really don't want to do it."
You're like, called it like a good excuse.
I was like, "I'm really tired." He's like, he's like, it'll help with that. I'm like,
no,
I don't.
No, it won't. No, it won't. No, yeah. I'm dragging.
The only way you'd feel better is if you are a real true masochist and doing yourself
apparently
harm
John
brings you pleasure. Oh man, this is so terrible. I feel so great.
I hit like an energy brick wall. Look, I feel fine. I don't want food. I actually don't want coffee or food or whatever. I love coffee. I had a headache the first day, really bad. But that's not the problem with the cleanse. The problem is the lack of energy. I normally feel like a crazy, energetic Beavis from Beavis and Butthead tiger. Oh. And I don't feel like that right now. I mean, I do feel like a butthead. Totally unrelated. But
you feel like a butthead for committing to doing the cleanse?
Exactly.
Oh man.
Wow.
So if any of you guys have looked up the Master Cleanse online, that's what I'm doing. You guys can always look it up and see the stuff. Here, my advice: don't do it unless you want to pee from your butt.
I like peeing through my other orifice.
That's where you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, I think I'll lay off.
I know.
Thanks for the warning.
And to think like our boss has said too a couple times, like, oh, people will that's all they'll do. Like they'll go years doing it, without stopping. I'm like, what? Like that sounds horrible.
Why?
Like imagine.
Why would you do that?
No.
He's like, yeah, runners will do it before a big marathon. Apparently they get all their nutrients and electrolytes and blah 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 from this cleanse. I'm like,
That makes no scientific sense.
That's what I kept telling him. I'm like, I don't think you read that right. Like, that can't be true, right? Like, people can't survive for years on lemonade and cayenne pepper. That's not how it works.
It's impossible. Unless you're like supplementing with like a ton of vitamins.
Which
like
not
I need like
really.
all the vitamins.
Yeah, all of them. You're just taking all the
have
vitamins.
To be like just taking a bunch of vitamin supplements like all day, every day.
6 multivitamins a day.
Protein. Like,
yep.
Holy shnikes.
Well, that's enough smack talk on the Master Cleanse here. How about we talk about our Patreon now?
Let's do it.
You can support us over there at patreon.com/supergamerboys, just like our Patreon producer did, Adrian Homeboy Holmes, and our Patreon sponsors, Bill Bird, Julie Bates, Dustin Long, and Brent Fox. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on how you can support us over there. But the biggest thing we need to talk about right now is our giveaway. Yeah. So Patreon supporters are going to get this tonight on the 13th or tomorrow on the 14th, depending on what time zone you live in. And everyone else will get this on Wednesday. When this comes out on Wednesday, that is the last day to submit your selfies. So if you're listening to this on Wednesday on the 15th, get it in there, because that night, or I guess maybe the next morning, we'll do the giveaway thing, but we'll only accept things that are dated on the 15th. If it's not dated on the 15th, we're not accepting it. And what we are doing, we've already talked about it the last few weeks, but if you've missed it somehow, this is your first time listening, welcome. Thanks for listening. Hashtag Super Gamer Boys giveaway. Take a selfie with your favorite video game, whether it's an action figure, toy, the game case itself, it on the TV screen behind you, or of the console that you play it on, or on a piece of paper, however you want to do it, something that represents your favorite game. Take a selfie with it, and then post on Instagram. It's just post on Instagram that we're doing. Make sure you tag us at Super Gamer Boys and hashtag Super Gamer Boys giveaway. And we are giving away a $50 gift card to either PSN, the Xbox Store, Nintendo eShop, or Steam. Any of those four of your choice. You get to choose one, whatever your preferred gaming platform is there. So go ahead, go leave your selfies. Remember, for Patreon supporters, you have a couple days. For everyone else, today's the last day. Do it right now. And then we'll be announcing it on the show next week. So I'm excited. We've got, I think there's a few. I mean, you can anyone can search that hashtag and see how many entries there are. It's been fun seeing different people's picks. So there's like a Dishonored pick in there. Someone was a Donkey Kong Country pick. There was Mario Kart 7. Was that the one on the 3DS? Someone put that in there. It's just been cool to see a few people's entries. So get yours out there so you can win $50 for free.
If you guys had to enter the giveaway, Garrett, I know you already did Metal Gear, so JJ,
I already entered. My picture's in the hashtag. Go search it. You see me.
Yeah, yours is getting. I'm doing the drawing, and guess who's not qualified? You.
Me.
Me.
Garrett's disqualified. JJ, what game would you put? I'm curious. What game would you put in there? Last of Us. Really, out of all the games ever made, Last of Us is it.
Absolutely.
That's not very surprising, but I am a little bit surprised.
Well, for me, it was just that was the first time that I got lost in a game, that I was so immersed in a story that literally within the first 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever, made me cry uncontrollably at the loss of a character.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game. And I was so emotional over it. I have a daughter, and when I played it, my daughter wasn't much older than that girl. So it was very emotional for me. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Great. I just spoiled the whole game for everybody. Great. You just made me spoil it.
It came out.
Statute of limitations.
It came out like 7 years ago, and the sequel's out. I feel like when the sequel for a game comes out, now you can spoil the first one. That's how it goes.
Okay, I don't know how spoilers work.
That's how it works for me. So,
Garrett, also, can I just a real quick podcasting note for you? I come from a long line of people who gesticulate a lot, who use their hands to talk and to tell stories with their hands. You are the weirdest hand person gesticulator I've ever seen. You were just holding your hands up and pointing weird, and it was like you looked very look Zetch is doing it too. It was so awkward and uncomfortable.
I don't remember ever doing this.
And you were doing like some weird hand. It looked like you were doing a marionette. Like you were
Was
just
I?
like you yeah like you
Was
were
I
holding.
really?
Yeah, it was real. Don't gesticulate it. Just keep your hands at your side. Keep your hands down. Keep them below camera frame.
I'll give
Let's
you a
not let anybody
gesticulation, but
see
you
you
can't
do.
show it on camera.
I honestly did not realize I was doing this, so I don't know what you're talking about. I guess I'll watch back later and see what the
Look,
world you're talking.
now when you watch back later, you're gonna be like, oh my god, I never need to put my hands in front of the camera again because I don't know what I'm doing with them. You're just like, I don't know why my hands are up right now. They're up, and I don't know what I'm doing. So, sorry, just go ahead and move on. Never put your hands up again.
Okay.
Will Ferrell from like Talladega Nights. What do I do with my hands? Where do I put my hands?
Just put them down. Just put them down. Put them down.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
So good.
It's beautiful film.
Alrighty, I think it's time for some nerdy nudes.
It's now time for the nerdy news.
Alrighty, so this first one is almost in response to that one we did last week, I feel like, about the 2K stuff. Microsoft warned devs not to charge players for Xbox Series X upgrade DLC. This comes from Steve Watts over at GameSpot. Microsoft has reportedly warned Xbox Series X developers against charging for DLC upgrades from the current generation to the next one. The move appears aimed at de-incentivizing publishers from charging for a service that Microsoft is trying to make a major pillar of its platform with smart delivery. Microsoft wants a smoother transition between console generations, with players able to keep their games and get upgrades when moving to Xbox Series X. Normally, that would cost quite a bit of money. VGC reports that the company is encouraging publishers to instead adopt a no-cost upgrade model like smart delivery or EA's dual entitlement. The report doesn't state definitively whether Microsoft has made a formal rule, but I don't know, you guys get the point. They're kind of suggesting that they do that. There was something interesting in here, though. Despite that, the company is said to be leaving the door open to other mechanisms of allowing upgrades, aside from free digital upgrades like the ones above. It hasn't ruled out schemes like selling a next-gen version at a discount or selling quote-unquote cross-gen bundles that include two versions of the game. We've already seen that in action this week with the announcement of the NBA 2K21's Kobe Bryant edition, which will sell both versions for $100. So that is, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's at least cool that Xbox is like, hey guys, it'd be really cool if you offered this for free, like, because that's a huge selling point for their console. If they can get all the developers on board and publishers to be like, hey, if we can play this cool and all, give away these upgrades for free, that's going to be a huge draw to the Xbox platform. And so people like 2K who start spoiling stuff like they are, kind of, I'm sure, is a huge bummer for them.
Yeah.
But do you think many people are gonna try to take them up on that and try to refrain from doing a lot of the microtransactions and stuff like that? Microtransactions have become such a huge part of gaming.
So they're not saying not to do microtransactions. It's not to charge people though for that. The microtransaction is specifically for upgrading to the next gen console version.
Oh, to the next console. Okay.
Right. So like to answer your question, I think a lot of people already are, honestly. Like Cyberpunk has already said, they said that they're going to come out with a official PS5 and Xbox Series X version, but there will be a quote unquote kind of pro upgrade for the PS5 and Xbox Series X that'll be free at launch. Well, Ubisoft has come out this last weekend and talked about free upgrades for I think they talked about for Watch Dogs Legion, and then I want to say Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It'll probably be in the article that we do later in the show. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the Ubisoft event that was on Sunday. A lot of publishers are already kind of doing it because that's not only a huge selling point for the Xbox console, but I mean, it's going to sell their games when people are like, oh, wait, I can buy it once and get it twice. Yeah, maybe they technically lose out on money a little bit, but it's still, I don't know, a huge draw. Like maybe people who wouldn't have even bought it before is like, oh, but I get 2 copies. Like, I don't know, I could see like those thrifty people being like, oh, I might as well. Like I get it when I upgrade later or something. Or people buying it sooner than they normally would. Instead of waiting for the next gen, they're going to buy it now instead of 3 years from now. But I don't know. That's my thought. I think most publishers will probably be on board with that.
Yeah, I remember when the last move happened. I remember Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. That one was like one of the worst Call of Duties ever made. Kevin Spacey one. They had like cheap upgrades for that, but even then, it was like I since this is more like this is like one of the key pillars, I think, as you
Yeah.
said, for Xbox. So it's like getting those other developers on board is kind of a big deal.
I mean, it's their huge
So
marketing. Like they've had such a huge marketing push, and they've named it smart delivery. It's not just like, hey, you got a free upgrade. It's like, ooh, our special technology smart delivery. It's like, well, it's just cross buy, but you just gave it a fancy name. So I think it'll be.
but it's
big.
also a smart upgrade too. So it's not
Yes,
like it's
yes.
the same game on the next console. It legitimately will scale
You're right. Yeah.
to, PC, Xbox. It goes beyond what PlayStation could offer. Is the real thing.
Right. As far as we
And
know
that's
so
what makes
far,
it
yeah.
so much of a draw.
Yeah. 100%.
Well,
Yeah.
and PlayStation has just PS4, PS5, where Windows or Microsoft has PC added into that mix there too. So they have the Xbox S, the Xbox One X, and they have the Series X. They have the stupidest namings of all their consoles, but nonetheless,
Possibly
having
possibly the Lockhart, which could be like a Series S. So there might be like 4 Xbox versions that are out there plus a PC version. So there might be 5 different versions of each of these games essentially kind of coming out.
Exactly.
Which
So
is
getting developers to commit to that, because I mean, technically speaking, the way it sounds like, I mean, you can kind of, I mean, we'll get into this in the next piece, but the way the architecture works, you could probably scale from platform to platform fairly easy, which probably you might want to segue from there into the next one.
Yeah.
Unless there be any
So-
other comments, but yeah.
I mean, I don't have any other comments about the whole DLC thing other than I think it'll be a general trend that most of the time it'll be free unless they're just money grubbing kind of 2K, I think.
Yeah, it'll be free unless you're 2K, essentially.
Yeah. But yeah, that what you said kind of perfectly leads into this next article over at gamesindustry.biz. Are Xbox Series X developers being held back by Xbox One? And the main reason I want to touch on this is, yeah, you kind of touched on it with that last article. You did a good job segueing into it, but also on previous episodes, I know I've made a comment of it, and I know, like, yeah, me and JJ have both kind of come up with concerns like, could the Xbox Series X version of games be held back, whether it's graphically or gameplay wise or whatever, performance wise, because they also have to make it for the lesser consoles? I know we've kind of
Right.
mentioned that previously, that could be a concern. And basically, in an interview that was with Jim Ryan over at Xbox, I think it was gamesindustry.biz interview, as far as I can tell. It doesn't say otherwise. He came out and was like, frankly, held back is a meme that gets created by people who are too caught up in the device competition. Which immediately when I read that, I'm like, okay, so you're just really dunking on me here, huh? Like, just because I I see how it is. I'm not gonna buy your console now, Jim Ryan. How about that?
Oh, now you're not gonna buy it? Now?
Now I'm not gonna.
Like you were ever gonna buy it? Oh man, that's really sticking it to him there.
Take that, Xbox. But yeah, says Microsoft's executive vice president of gaming and that's actually Phil Spencer. Sorry, of gaming.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's not right. Phil's the one that's saying it.
Yeah. Phil Spencer said that. I just look at Windows. It's almost certain if the developer is building a Windows version of the game, then the most powerful and highest fidelity version of the PC version. You can even see that with some of our first-party console games going to PC, even from our competitors, at the richest versions of the PC versions. It's weird to read things that people say, because when you say it, it sounds one way, and then when you type it, it looks a different way, and it sounds funny. Yet the PC ecosystem is the most diverse when it comes to hardware, and that's what we wanted to get to. When you think about the CPUs and GPUs from years ago that are there, yes, every developer is going to find a line and say that this is the hardware that I'm going to support, but the diversity of hardware choice in PC has not held back the highest fidelity PC games on the market. The highest fidelity PC games rival anything that anybody has ever seen in video games. So this idea that developers don't know how to build games or game engines or ecosystems that work across a set of hardware, there's a proof in PC that shows that's not the case. So basically coming out and saying like, hey, PC game developers have been doing it for decades now, making it so it can run on the most powerful PC and down to like the one you pulled out of a dumpster last week. You just like they all have the little sliders in there. You set it for low graphics, you set it for ultra extreme graphics. Why can't they just build that in? Just add 4 more sliders on there that are Series X, Series S, 1X, 1S kind of thing. So that's essentially what it sounds like is going to be happening.
What it sounds like is that Zetch was right. Just saying.
I mean,
just saying. Mr.
I get
non-believer, 2 non-believers over there. Like, oh,
I never doubted you.
I guess.
Zetch, I never doubted you for a minute. I knew you.
I'm just teasing. No, but
yes, Zetch was right. Zetch was right. I don't remember you actually saying that exact statement, but if you did, then yes, you were right. If you said that at one point out loud, maybe just in your head, it was a correct statement.
I don't know when and where or who I said it to, but I know I said it.
Oh, okay.
I was right. I said that. I know you guys have voiced concerns about the games being held back, which at the time made sense, but then I remember I was saying I don't think it's gonna matter. I'm saying I didn't say how it's not gonna matter. I just knew it wasn't gonna matter.
Okay, so you were like kind of like right by default kind of thing. Like you got lucky there, huh? Okay.
No, it's all skill.
It's all skill.
It's all knowledge, facts, figures.
But yeah, so I don't know. That's just really cool. I don't know. It's cool to hear. It's kind of like one of those things where you're right. It's just like, well, duh. Like when you think of it,
it's so simple.
So simple, like of course. But in the moment, and he's right. Like even though he kind of put it in a snarky way a little bit, frankly, held back as a meme that gets created, blah blah blah. Yeah. Like it's true. It was just things that are people who like me, like my whole life I've been a console gamer. So yeah, of course I just think one way. And I told you before the show, I'm like, it's so easy to forget that I just did the thing again. I did it. It's more like it's not like this. It's more actually like this. I don't know what this is.
You're holding the point in your hand and you're offering it to us.
Neither did we. That's why we said something, Garrett. It's time for us to just break it open and be honest with you. Enough of the lies, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just be who you are.
Just be who I am. Then let me just do my thing. Just let me do it. Yeah. For years though, it's like consoles have been so different from PC. Like they are. They've always just been very different in the structure of how every little bit of game development works to how things load, how the hardware works. A lot of things, even though it uses similar parts, they've always worked differently. And then especially like the PS3 there with even you had their cell processor thing, like that even discouraged people from making games on PS3 because it was such a pain in the butt to deal with it because it was near impossible. And so when they went back to using like the regular, processing that is done, like basically it's PS4 is a PC, the Xbox consoles are just PCs, and more it's getting closer to that. It's kind of like, well, duh, of course it's going to be easy just to like have it just load up in the correct format that you need, just like a PC would.
Which if you're building a game in Xbox's architecture or ecosystem, it would make sense for Xbox to kind of keep an architecture that mirrors PC to an extent, so that you're not really building a single game and then having to port it to PC. You're just building a game, and it's playable as is on both PC or Xbox.
And that's even what we
the scaling part easy.
Yeah, that's even what we saw last week in one of the articles. I think we even read from Xbox's or Microsoft's website. The GDK, the game developer kit that they like the software that they use to basically develop these games, like the main, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know exactly the precise terminology, but these files and software that they use in developing Xbox games specifically says in there like, hey, it's designed to work with Xbox Series X systems and One systems and PCs. So it's this new generation. It's basically it more than ever, it's just kind of drag and drop for anything within the
Yeah.
Microsoft ecosystem. Back in the day, it was always just like, oh yeah, why don't you port the Switch? Just drag it. Like a couple of years ago, when everyone wanted everything to Switch, just dot Nintendo or something, or dot Switch. It's like, just export it to a new file format, right? It's can't be that hard. Or even years ago, like whatever it was. They have to totally rebuild games, but within Microsoft now, they literally can just like press a button and like, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Good to go, which is super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Well, let's anyone have any other thoughts on the whole Microsoft, anything from the smart delivery to game development? Any thoughts?
Upgrades? Yeah, I don't know. I am really excited for this new take on the industry, especially since they kind of were picking up a lot of heat. From I read an interview it was Druckmann who said the Druckmann, the head of Sony.
That's Herman Holst.
So he interview with him. He was talking. Yeah, Druckmann's Naughty Dog.
He's Naughty Dog, yeah.
So, but it was an interview with Holst, and they're asking, PlayStation if they were planning on doing this too, and he said that they build next gen consoles specifically for the next gen games. So, in his mind, it doesn't make sense for them to make this type of backwards compatibility available. Like if you make a PlayStation 5 game, it shouldn't be playable on a PS4. It should be only playable on PlayStation 5. He's like, that's the point of having a next gen game, which after hearing Phil Spencer speak feels like a very antiquated way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this is the future, like if this is the way games are going to go, where it's just like, hey, this is a game and these are the different ways you can play it. You can either have a souped up freaking Ferrari of a console, or you can build your own Ferrari with this PC, or you can play it on this nice little Mustang. Enjoy the game. That game is meant to be enjoyed, so play it on whatever you want.
No, Herman Holst's comments were really code for, we want to sell consoles, we want to make money. Like that's what it is.
Like people that make companies, game developers or they don't make money on the consoles.
No, but
they don't.
But you're right. Yeah, but what I mean by that is, we want to make it so, like, you have to probably rebuy like games, or you'll want to rebuy games for the PS5 and stuff. Like, we don't want it to just they don't want to have the smart delivery necessarily, because it's like, that doesn't make them more money. So that's what I meant by that, is like, not only will it sell consoles, which you're right, they don't necessarily make money on, but people can't just like pop in their old disc. Like when they pop in their old disc, they'll get a slight performance boost, but they're not going to get the PS5 version of that game. Like if I pop in my PS4 version of Last of Us Part 2, I'm sure I'm not going to get the PS5 version when they come out with a remaster in a couple of years, that type of thing. And so it's like Herman Holst's comments was made to make it sound like, because I remember when he did that article too, we talked about a few weeks back, it was like, oh man, like, yeah, and I think that's when he even said that thing about Xbox. It's like, oh man, is Xbox going to be held back? Like, but really now with all this clarity and a little more information, it's like, oh no, it was this code for like, we just want to make more money because we'll sell more games that way.
Right.
Sell more copies because you have to rebuy it now if you want the best experience.
Yeah. Which I feel that's going to really work for their exclusives, and Sony's kind of in a better spot for that since they have more exclusives. But for your third-party stuff,
Xbox is going to kill it.
Xbox is going to sell so many third-party games, so many, not even going to be fun. Well, it will be fun because they are all games, but you know what I mean.
I don't think the same can be said for PlayStation. PlayStation isn't going to sell a whole lot of third-party games, not in the same way. No way.
Yeah, I mean, only just for those who are like strictly just care about a PlayStation ecosystem. But like, honestly, like if someone has, people who have the funds and have both consoles, like if I had both consoles, I probably would buy all the third-party games on Xbox too. Like if it's going to be better graphics, better, feeling gameplay, and have that flexibility, sync save data, all the flexibility. It's like, oh yeah, 100%. I'd play all the third-party stuff over there. But more than likely, I'll be one of those ones who's still playing all my third-party games alone on the PlayStation ecosystem because, I can't afford to buy both consoles at this point. But
and you combine that with Project X Cloud,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And now you can take your games with you on the go wherever you want. So
I am really
Xbox,
excited
when they
about
say they are
xCloud.
all about the games, they're I feel like this is just another, notch in their whole, you know, mantra of
Yeah.
we're all about the games, we're all about the gamer, and it's like you kind of are.
Yeah. No, they're killing it here right off the bat. That's for sure. Really proving a point. They're drilling down. They're like, no, we really mean this. When we say this, we mean it.
Yeah.
JJ bit the dust again.
Ah,
Are
bummer.
you guys okay?
We're fine. I'm fine,
All
JJ.
right.
I'm
I was
fine.
worried for a
Thank you.
moment.
It's okay. We're good. We're good.
Uh,
We're good, bro. But yeah, that's all I kind of want to say. I just feel that
yeah.
this has been it's been a really interesting console war this year, this go around. I don't know if it's because I'm older and I don't care as much about the drama, and I don't have a whole lot of friends that are like, "You getting a PlayStation, dude? No, you need to be getting." Like now that I'm old, like none of my friends have that. They're like, "Oh, dude, you're so lucky. You're actually gonna be able to get a next gen console."
Yeah. I know now that we're all adults and we have other bills to pay, it's just like, well. So if I gotta save those pennies, I get that console and probably just be the one, and I'll be happy if it's next gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be
I'm
gonna be a
excited.
good year.
Next week is the big Microsoft event for first party stuff.
I know.
That's gonna be pretty
so
sweet.
excited for it.
Pretty
Hopefully they hit it
sweet.
right out of the park. I think they kind of need to right after what happened with the PlayStation announcements.
Oh yeah.
So one thing, and this is completely a rumor, but today, like early this morning, Sony started putting up online listings for the PS5 on Amazon and some other sites. And originally there was people who were like, "Oh, the pre-order's going to go live today. Pre-order's going to go live," and they're like, "No, probably not." But there's been a couple rumors I've seen kind of swirling around, and I don't think PlayStation is this evil, but people
They're
are
gonna go
like,
live the day of the
people
announcement.
are thinking the day, like the 23rd, next Thursday, when they do the the big first party reveal, Sony's going to come out with their pre-order and in the price and everything of the PS5, and they'll go live.
That
I'm
is
like,
so diabolical.
I don't know if they're that like evil, but if they
It's
did,
not
holy
evil.
crap.
It's strategy.
It's genius.
I mean,
Strategy 101.
that is, but it's like, man, that'd be so insane. Like in the same day to get like all these huge updates for Microsoft titles like Halo and well, I mean that's the only one we really know about, but hopefully some other things like Gears potentially or something else, Forza stuff like that.
Oh, Forza for
and
sure.
then for like that afternoon to be like, oh, by the way, like PlayStation 5 pre-orders are live. Like what?
But if I'm Xbox, I'd see that coming. I'd be like, okay, PlayStation.
Our pre-orders went live 3 hours ago.
PlayStation tipped their hands a little bit.
Yeah.
And now they can be like, hey, and Xbox is now ready for pre-order today. Here's the price. Boom. And then boom, and the console war is on at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's on. Like that's it. So 1 week left, and it's go time.
Yeah, regardless whether PlayStation makes that announcement or not, how diabolical would it be for Xbox to literally just jump the gun and just say you can pre-order it now? Go on and pre-order right now.
Oh yeah.
Without anything to do with PlayStation. I mean, it would be super smart.
Oh yeah,
100%. Jump the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no reason not to.
Now I feel like if Sony doesn't go that day, Xbox totally could and like eat their lunch, be like, hey, we're out. Yeah. Like anticipating Sony doing something, and then if Sony doesn't, hey, they beat them. Like they got out ahead of them at least by a little bit, and man, that makes a huge difference.
I'm just so excited because I know Xbox. I know we gotta get going on. We're running long on time, but Xbox owns so many different studios, and they've been talking up how many studios that they've been buying and picking up. They have if they don't launch this console with like a ton of games, I'd be surprised. Like a ton of like solid like games are just like whoa. Because then, like their whole thing is we're all about the games. 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 If you launch a console with no games,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, sure, you could play all these third-party games anywhere you want, but man, it would just be such a reinforcement of their brand and their motto if they just came out the gate and they're like, yeah, PlayStation's got like 5, not even 5, like maybe like 3 games that we're all looking forward to coming out. You got Gran Turismo, Spider-Man, That's it.
Ratchet and Clank.
First Ratchet and Clank first parties. But I mean, are those day one games?
No, I mean
Yeah,
other
see-
than Spider-Man. Spider-Man we know is day one, but the other two we don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
And so like,
Bug Snacks. That's not first party, but Bug Snacks is also coming out.
see what I mean? So I mean, like, if you really boil down that PlayStation reveal, they were like, "Hey, this is our console coming out. This is a game available on day one, only for this console. Everything else is third party. You got to wait for the good stuff next year."
Yeah. Any
and
first
even
party
at that-
stuff is probably early. Like I would say, I could see Horizon coming out like in the February, like a couple months later. But still, it's not that launch window. It's not that launch, or it's launch window, but not that launch like month. Like that's key. Having stuff out
Which-
right at the beginning.
It's a gaping hole for Xbox to come in and just like whoop that
Like-
hole. That's
Like for Christmas, to open up a PS5 or whatever console you get, Xbox, and to have games or not have games, like that's huge. That's a game changer. Like, you know, that's going to be the difference when the kids like making their wish list and they're like, well, I could get a PS5, but there's only a couple games for it.
Gonna play
Yeah,
20
it's a
hours of
bummer.
Spider-Man and be done. Like that's gonna be a short game.
Yeah.
But if Xbox, knowing that full well that they're all about the games, they don't even need for you to buy an Xbox Series X. They're only going to make money off the games anyway. So really,
Right.
that July 23rd keynote could just be, here's a crap ton of games. By the way, here's the price of the Xbox Series X. Here's the Lockhart. Buy all the
Yeah.
games this day or this week, this launch window. And if you feel like picking up, if you want some extra features, added some bonus, grab one of these new consoles. But either way, they're like, that's like it's going to be a game announcement, not really a console announcement. Is
Right.
my bet.
Yeah, I mean, in Game Pass, they're like, hey, all these games are coming to
Oh,
Game
yeah.
Pass. They're all
Oh, yeah.
exclusives. They're all going to be their first party studios. So, hey, $10 a month or whatever it is, $15 a month. Like, you got all these games. Do it.
Game it up. Anyway, I've sucked up enough of your time, so let's go.
No, that's good stuff. That's good discussion.
Yeah.
That's better discussion than I thought. We almost cut one of those articles, and I'm glad we didn't. That was good. But we are going to cut another one that was just kind of whatever. Basically,
Gotcha.
yeah, the Sony one. There might be backwards compatibility, but it'll probably be through a cloud. Basically, PlayStation Now, but amped up a little bit on Sony. But it's just a patent that it's all speculation and rumor, so there's not much to talk about. So let's move on to our last news story here. The 4 biggest announcements from Ubisoft Forward. So there was a Ubisoft Forward, that's what they're calling their little directs, essentially, little digital presentation. Ubisoft Forward happened on Sunday. I watched it. I tried to watch it live, but my son would not let me, so I watched about an hour or two later. But boy, there's some sweet stuff showed off in there. There was some also like just okay, whatever stuff, but some of the cool stuff I'm like really excited about. This is a write-up over on The Verge by Jay Peters over there. Ubisoft, like many other video game companies, was unable to host its typical in-person press conference at E3 in June due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Instead, it hosted a digital event on Sunday called Ubisoft Forward, revealing more about its biggest upcoming games, those including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, its newly announced battle royale shooter Hyperscape, Far Cry 6, and more. The company says it also plans to hold another Ubisoft Forward showcase later this year. Well, that's kind of exciting because a lot of these games are ones other than like Far Cry really, we had never heard of these, or we'd already heard of these games. Like some of these were even supposed to come out last fall or this spring, and they got delayed. But yeah, let's get into it here. There's a bunch of other, actually this interesting to touch on. We didn't do an article on it this week, but kind of continuing on last week's article about the Evo stuff and what we've talked about previously, the games industry is continuing to be cleaned up. It comes at a difficult time for the company, this presentation. Actually, this is, I don't know if it's been updated. Oh yeah, just yesterday, 3 prominent executives left Ubisoft, bringing the total to 4 departures. So there's been 4 people who have left Ubisoft or maybe kicked out due to either pervasive toxic culture or there's been multiple allegations of misconduct, everything from just like kind of abusing the workers to just various abuses happening over there, and they're cleaning up shop, which I applaud them for. Eskill Moab's like, no, we're not going to stand for this. Like, we're getting rid of these suckers. So I don't know.
Blew me away. I was blown away by that article.
Yeah, he's the man. He's like, no, I'm gonna like, I'm not standing for this crap. Like, we're dealing with this right now. We're restructuring how our company works. We're getting rid of these dirty people. Like, he's the dude.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So it was kind of a weird thing. They didn't address it at all, but it's because it was all a pre-recorded event way before all this stuff was happening. So they didn't really. And so they actually put out a post on Twitter addressing that, like, hey, you're going to watch this. We don't talk about it, and this is why. Not because we're trying to cover it up, which was super awesome for them to be transparent and be like, hey, this was just recorded like weeks ago. So, yeah, we apologize for that. So here we go. The first and probably biggest one. Far Cry 6 launches next year, and its villain could look familiar to Breaking Bad fans. After a tease on Friday, Ubisoft officially announced Far Cry 6, the next game in the hugely popular series. Far Cry 6 takes place on the tropical island of Yara, and the role of the villain will be played by Giancarlo Esposito.
Esposito.
Who you might know as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. The series is known for focusing on its villains rather than protagonists, but Esposito is the first actor widely known for playing a strong villain to take on the video game role. Ubisoft says Far Cry 6 will be available on February 18th, 2021 for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PC, and Google's Stadia cloud gaming service.
I was playing on that.
If it still exists, we'll see.
The devs that didn't make it for that stinking console.
Yeah. But holy cow, if you have, I know we say this at least once an episode, hey, go watch this video, you gotta watch it. If you have not watched this trailer, you have to go watch
it's one of the sickest trailers I've ever seen.
It is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like, I mean, and obviously it's a cinematic. It's not probably what the game's gonna look like, but it's like, holy cow, it's insane. The imagery in there, the graphics, like the more importantly than anything, the storytelling. Like, this is just
narrative.
Like, the narrative, yeah. Man. The story, like the narrative that's going on here. Holy crap! Like, this is gonna be a heavy game. I feel like this is gonna be intense.
There are 4 parts to a grenade.
Yeah.
Like,
insane. I don't even want to spoil the trailer for you because it's that good. So please, if you don't watch anything else on YouTube, go just type in Far Cry 6. I guarantee it'll be the first thing that pops up. If it's not already suggested on your front page, go watch it. It's crazy. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait for February. Like, we were just talking before the show. The only Far Cry games I've played is I played a decent chunk of 4, but never beat it because it was one of those games where it was easy to get super lost in a side quest, and then by the time I got like super deep into it, I was like, oh, I've done a whole lot of nothing, and I've already got my fill. Like, I don't feel like I need to finish the story because I'm kind of done playing it. Like, I don't know, it wasn't like that engaging. And then 5, I thought was going to be awesome, and then there's just some really huge flaws in the general gameplay mechanics and how like the mission to mission kind of thing worked. And so I've never beat a Far Cry. I've played a couple, but I was telling you I've never played 3, and that's like one of the most beloved ones is Far Cry 3. And right before the show,
sale for $2.99.
exactly, right before the show, Zech told me, he's like, it's on sale for $2.99. Go buy it right now. Go over to the PlayStation Store, get Far Cry 3, $2.99. I bought it, I downloaded it, and probably after I finish Last of Us Part 2 and Half-Life Alyx, then I'll probably get to it. But yeah, go watch that trailer. It looks sweet. The next thing announced, Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be available on November 17th. Ubisoft announced that its Norse-inspired Assassin's Creed Valhalla will, which it showed off in April, will launch on November 17th for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, and Google Stadia. The company also shared a new gameplay trailer for the Viking-themed game, which you can watch above. My colleague recently got to spend 3 hours with the title, and he says it should feel very similar to fans of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins. Yeah, and you can read his impressions on that site. At the end of today's trailer, Ubisoft noted that the game is coming soon to next-gen consoles. So at this point, it's actually only announced for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, but it's a given. It's coming to everything else. especially with the way Microsoft has been pushing it. Like they're kind of the first ones to push it back in April.
Yep.
Which kind of brings me to a little thought here. So Cyberpunk gets delayed to November 19th, a Thursday. This is coming out November 17th, a Tuesday. Both games are very heavily being marketed by Microsoft and Xbox. It's a pretty good chance the Xbox is coming out that week, huh? Like, it seems pretty much a given at this point.
Birthday.
Oh, there you go. You might have an Xbox for your birthday. You got to wait until your birthday. You can play it, though.
Oh.
Like, when you even, so you have to leave it in the box for the whole week until your birthday.
Just like stare at it every day. Did I ever tell you my Nintendo Wii story?
No.
Okay, guys. I'll make this fast. So, the year was what? 2000 and I don't remember. I was 19. So, I was super excited for this console. I was like, sweet. I got a job now. I'm a grown up. I can actually go down, save my money. I'm going to go down and buy myself a Nintendo Wii. Day it comes out. So, I went down to Best Buy. They were sold out. And I had my dad with me, right? I was like, hey, Dad, let's go. So, I went to Best Buy. Nothing. Went to Target. It was right next door. Nothing. Went all over Modesto. Okay? All over my hometown. Nothing. Anywhere. But you know what they did have? They had Twilight Princess. So I was like, well, I'm going to need this when I get my Wii. So I bought Twilight Princess. And it sat there. It just sat on my dresser for like 3 months before I bought a Nintendo Wii off of my...
3 months?
Off of the manager. Oh, dude, they couldn't keep them in stock. They couldn't keep them in stock for like a year. The only way I was able to get one is my manager at work had gotten his hands on one somehow. And he's like, hey, man, I'm never going to play this. You want it? We're going to have a kid. I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. So I bought off him. I bought that, and he gave me his old Nintendo Genesis, too. So, or Nintendo Genesis. What did I just say? That's terrible.
I know.
Genesis?
Sega. Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I was very confused there for a second. Yeah, I was like, what?
No, but yeah, that's my... So I had to basically sit there for 3 months staring at Twilight Princess.
That's horrible.
Play, but couldn't.
That is so horrible.
Did your buddy mark up the price on you?
Nope. Sold it to me for, I think I got 2 controllers, 2 nunchucks, the Wii for $250. So I basically got a controller and a nunchuck for free. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Totally. I still have it. That's one of my favorite consoles. Don't have Twilight Princess. I think pretty sure my cousin stole it.
Go steal it back. What are you waiting for?
Nah.
You're little. You could probably sneak in under the door and like steal it, and nobody know you were there.
Nah. I'll just go buy a new one. You can keep it, or he sold it. He probably already sold it already.
Oh man.
Anyway.
But yeah. So I have a sneaky suspicion that that's probably when the Series X is coming out. But write that down. Whoever is our Super Gamer Boys record keeper, write that down, and then.
You ever listen to Fantasy Focus on ESPN?
I don't.
You guys fantasy football fans?
I don't know sports.
No, I don't know sports either.
I don't watch sports. I don't know anything about sports.
Oh man. All right. Well, anyway, so this podcast, any of our other more athletically engaged listeners out there that listen to fantasy football podcasts, check out Fantasy Focus on ESPN. All right, you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. It's really good. Anytime one of them makes a claim, they're all right, putting this on the board or putting it on the board, and say like this board that anytime anybody says like a certain player is going to be like hit like a certain benchmark for the year or have a certain amount of touchdowns or receptions or whatever, they put it on the board, and at the end of the year they tell you who's right the most on the board.
Do I need to buy a whiteboard?
We need to get a Super Gamer Boys board.
Okay, I'm gonna buy a whiteboard and put on my wall in here, so then whenever we say something, I just write it on the board. Super Gamer board. Yes, and we can sell them. We can sell them on our store. SuperGamerBoys.com/store. Buy your Super Gamers board.
I don't like that idea very much, guys, because I feel like it would be you guys have a whole lot of like mine not being right, or a bunch of like zeros, a bunch of goose eggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a stretch. It might be a stretch. But I'm feeling like I would be left out a little bit if we went that route. So If we could try to stick to, instead of doing, right and wrong and stuff like that, how about we just stick more to, was it entertaining?
How about I tell you?
Does it really matter if it's truth?
How about I just tell you the same thing I tell my kids? Life's not fair. Sucks to suck. So
it does suck to suck. That's actually tattooed on Garrett's small back. Also, have you ever showed him the Volkswagen tattoo? He has a Volkswagen tattoo. I don't know why. He has a Volkswagen tattoo in the small of his back. What do they call it? A tramp stamp? Yeah, Garrett possesses a tramp stamp. And it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen on a guy. I don't understand why you would have a Volkswagen tramp stamp and then sucks to suck right under that. So, but I mean, to each their own.
We love you, JJ, man.
Garrett, how old were you when you got that?
I
love you too, brother.
I lived a wild life, man. I lived a wild life in my early years because I'm just so old now.
Papua New Guinea must have been crazy. Must have been just wild, dude.
You've never, JJ, you've never seen nothing like it. Never seen nothing like it.
Oh, I probably haven't. Have you ever seen Hometown Buffet during rush hour, right after church? Now that's crazy. You ever seen fat ladies fight over fried chicken? That is one heck of a crazy. It's not as crazy as getting a tramp stamp of a Volkswagen insignia on your lower back and you're male, but still, I digress.
Speaking of fried chicken, over the weekend with our air fryer, I made some gluten-free chicken tenders, basically.
That'd be gross.
My wife has celiac, and my son is allergic to gluten. What am I gonna do? Like make him pour it in the toast and kill him? Then I'd go to jail, Zach. Then I'd go to jail.
Good.
Okay, well, it was good. I had the perfect seasonings in the batter. It was fantastic. And then I did homemade Chick-fil-A sauce. And let me tell you, that's what made it, really. Just soaking in Chick-fil-A sauce, anything's good in that. Anyways, let's carry on. Hyperscape enters open beta starting today. Ubisoft announced that its upcoming Battle Royale shooter Hyperscape will enter open beta starting today. Ubisoft also shared a trailer for the beta and a new cinematic story trailer, which you can watch above, which you can't. There's nothing up there. Just I think it says YouTube over there. My colleague Nick Stat got to go hands-on with a technical test. You can check his thoughts out here. That looks fun. I was actually more intrigued in the story trailer that they did. But as far as I can tell, it's just a multiplayer game. But I still want to try it because it does look kind of cool. Have you tried it, Zetch?
I played one round, so I don't have enough to actually form an opinion. So the fact that
that's fine.
I'm tired of battle royales.
Then we can come back next week and maybe talk about
Valorant.
it if we have any more. I forgot you really like Valorant. I enjoyed what I played too. I just didn't put enough time into it because I was finishing up something else. I think I finished it.
Shoot me a text. Let's do it. My brother would be down. With my brother.
You need to teach me. That's what you need to teach me because I did that whole tutorial and I'm just like, I feel like there's so much to learn in this game. I don't have the time to learn it.
Okay, take everything you thought you knew about shooters and reverse it. It's not Call of Duty, bro. No running and gunning in this game. You're sneaking. You're stealthing. You're blocking sights. Okay?
Interesting.
That's why so many characters have those freaking gas balls that they can use to block line of sight. Like it's all about about getting the angle. It's all about getting the angle.
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to play sometime then. And the last, well, that's fine. Well, there's two of us. I don't feel like a total idiot playing. I always hate when I play with friends who are really good at games because I just feel like they're carrying me. I'm like, it's not a good feeling to be carried. Like I've never been like, hey, it's fine. You're doing all right. A little pat on the back. You're doing good, champ. Like that doesn't feel good. Like I'd rather.
We always know when we're doing bad if I'm doing the best on the team. Yeah, we're gonna lose this one. Zetch is winning. Zetch is carrying. Zetch is doing the best right now. Look at that, KD.
Oh no. So the last big announcement from the Ubisoft Forward, Watch Dogs Legion is available on October 29th. It will be available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, Google Stadia, and shared some footage from the game and a new gameplay trailer. The game takes place in London, and the big change from previous Watch Dogs titles is that you can recruit any NPC in the game as a playable character. There's some one of the people from The Verge here got to spend 3 hours with it, so you can go check out their coverage if you want. And he said that despite the huge number of NPCs you can play as, many of them feel the same. Oh, I didn't read that part. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's kind of that was kind of a worry back when they first announced that. It's like they can only come up with so many quote unquote archetypes and like personalities and stuff, right? Like they can't literally make hundreds and hundreds of different personalities that you interact with.
Yeah,
It's
no
a
way.
really cool concept. It's a really cool concept, but you just figure that there's too much scope there. There's no way that they can make every character super unique and stand apart.
Yeah.
They're gonna have different skins and like different little backstories or whatever. But we kind of went over that when Legion was announced.
Yeah.
And back when it was announced, we
a long time ago, last year.
I've never played a Watch Dogs game. I know they're fairly popular, but this one looks really cool. But given this information, it's not something I'll ever want to pick up.
Yeah, same. Like I played through a little bit of Watch Dogs 2, and I thought it's cool for what it is. I mean, it just feels like literally any other Ubisoft game. Ubisoft makes one game. It's open world. Okay? It's open world, and it's either set in the past or it's set in the future or it's set in some weird alternate present. And you got these towers you got to go climb to reveal more of the map. So you got to go do that. Even Far Cry has that. Like literally, like every game is the exact same game. It's third person, it's first person, and so it just felt like another. It just feels like another Ubisoft game. Just, do you want to play it with technology this time? Go ahead. Here you go. Play with some technology. You can go hack some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually got the Watch Dogs 2 for free because they were giving away to everyone who watched live the event on Sunday. If you linked your Ubisoft account to your Twitch account, you get the free Twitch drop or whatever. And so I haven't installed or downloaded it yet. It's just another one of those on my pile of shame, of course. But now that I have it, at least, I'm like, for so long, I've always wanted to try because I've never pulled the trigger because I was just like, well, would I like it? Would I not like it? Now that I have it for free, it's like, well, I can try it and then not feel guilty when I'm like, no, this isn't for me, at least. So I feel good about that. But because, I kind of want to jump into 2 before this one comes out in October. Because, there are some things that seem really cool or interesting about this one. Other than, that just kind of bummed me out. I totally missed that line there that they overall feel like the same. But it is also still early. Who knows? Maybe in the next, 3 months they're working on that type of thing. But we will see. So that is it. Those are kind of the biggest things. I think there's some other little reveals, but that aren't even listed here in this article. But nothing as big as those 4, especially Far Cry.
It was like a Tom Clancy announcement, I believe.
Oh yeah, it was. There was 2 Tom Clancy things. They announced some stuff about Rainbow Six Siege, and then there's a stupid mobile game called Tom Clancy's Elites or something. No. It just made me so mad because Sam Fisher's in it, and I knew we weren't gonna get a Splinter Cell, but I wanted it still. And then when they came out and Sam Fisher is in this dumb mobile game, which doesn't make sense. Like it's all a lot of the characters from the Tom Clancy games, both heroes and villains, are all working together against this common enemy. So it was like the bad guy from Ghost Recon Wildlands, who's like the head, drug dealer dude with like the tattoos all over his head and everything, the cross.
He was a cool villain.
Yeah, he was a really cool villain. He was a super awesome dude, but it's so weird to see like Sam Fisher be like, here, have a gun, let's work together. It's like he's like a horrible dude, and like Sam Fisher and like the Rainbow Six Siege team are like working side by side with him. It just seems like such a strange concept. Maybe it'll be fun to play, but right off the bat, I just wrote it off because I'm like, I would have loved to see Sam Fisher in another Splinter Cell game and not this mobile game. That's weird, but
I haven't played any Splinter Cells.
What?
I think I played like
so good.
I think I played the first like 5 minutes of Conviction, and that's it.
Okay.
Not
They're
because
really good.
not for lack of wanting to, it's because I just haven't gotten around to it.
One day you need to, because they are. I'm not gonna say they're not gonna feel outdated. I guarantee if you play any of the older ones, you're gonna be like, "Ooh, this does not feel good." But man, in the day, they were the best stealth games. Like I've never played a better stealth game in their day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so if they could
Even
take
better
that
than
same.
Here?
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of on par, honestly.
Oh,
I'm not saying it's a better game. It's a better stealth game.
That's high praise.
It's a pretty dang good stealth game. I'm telling you, they're really good. Again, like in their day, like compared to like their other stealth games at that time, they had something going for them. So it's a bummer when it's like we haven't seen one in what 7-8 years. The last one came out on 360 and PS3. Actually, I don't even know if it came out on PlayStation. I think it was out just on 360.
Yeah, 360 and PlayStation 3.
So there's been no Splinter Cell this generation, but there is another Ubisoft Forward. They said later this year. Maybe we'll be blessed by the Ubisoft gods then.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I could almost sense that when he listens to this, Bill Morlang is going to be completely enthralled at the thought of a Splinter Cell game getting played.
It's my dad's favorite game series.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about him loving that game so often, so I know that he's got to be smiling like a cheese weenie at the thought of that game coming out.
A cheese weenie?
I assume that cheese weenies smile a lot.
They smile real big.
They are big smilers. There's
I
nothing
don't know
wrong
what.
with that.
I just don't know. I just don't know what a cheese weenie. What is that? That's a thing.
Cheese weenie, Garrett.
Okay.
You look like a cheese weenie right now. You're smiling
right
all big.
Exactly like what a cheese weenie looks like.
Look at that smile. Oh, there it is. That's real cheese weenie coming through.
That photo right there. That photo right there on Google Images. You Google that.
You are the poster child of cheese weenies.
It's true.
Are you Googling cheese weenies right now?
Google.
Don't Google that. What are you trying to do?
You're gonna see some.
You know what you're gonna get.
I got Covenant eyes. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, look at your history, and she's gonna be like, Garrett, we gotta talk.
I just got the Covenant eyes blocker. I don't know what's the deal. It's not showing anything. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it just shows a bunch of hot dogs and macaroni and cheese.
It's pretty much that. That's what you look like when you were smiling.
Yeah. Oh, I know what that is. I've never heard it called cheese weenies. Don't read the Urban Dictionary for definition of cheese weenie. Ooh. Let's move on to our ads. How about that? Check us out on Patreon. Oh, if you really, really love our podcast as much as I do, if you love our podcast as much as I do, please support us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. We have a bunch of different tiers. My favorite one, the $1 a month tier. It's super easy to slide into, just $1 a month, and it helps us so much. So, and you get the episodes early and ad-free over there. We have a tier where you can get the show notes early. We have a tier where you can get shout outs on the show, like our sponsors. I mentioned earlier, Bill Bird, Julie Bates, Dustin Long, Brent Fox. Again, thank you guys so much. You're awesome. And then the top dog tier, $15 a month. You can be a Patreon producer, just like our producer, Adrian Holmes. And with that, not only do you get the show early, you get a shot on the show, you get the show notes, so you can see exactly what we're going to be talking about. You can also help shape the show. You can pitch us with segments you want us to do. If there's a certain game you want us to play or talk about, whatever it may be, we are your puppet. Just like, what I was doing earlier with my little weird fingers. That's what you can do with us. I don't like that JJ's disappeared because I don't know if he can still hear us. I don't know if he's going to talk at any moment. It just has me worried. No, I think it's gone. So yeah, if you love our podcast, support us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. Very, very much would appreciate that. And now let's get back to the show. Alrighty, so new releases. We have Hyperscape on there, which we just talked about, kind of technically came out in open beta, so it's kind of early access, but PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. I didn't realize it was out on PS4. I thought it was just a PC thing. I don't know how I missed that. That's cool. July 12th. That is out on those platforms. Death Stranding is on PC as of the 14th. Go to Steam right now. Get it. You get all the cool Half-Life Alyx Easter eggs in Death Stranding. That's your favorite game to sync. My favorite game and your favorite game together.
What? And it's actually got ray tracing on there too. So
As
yeah,
ray tracing. I know Zech texted me that like last week or something. He's like, hey dude, did you know Death Stranding had ray tracing on PC? And I texted him back. I was like, get behind me, Satan. I am not spending any more money on video games. I have spent too much money on video games. I had already mentioned, I was like, oh man, like I wasn't going to be buying any more games because I wasn't telling you guys. I was telling another friend. I was like, yeah, sorry. Probably not going to be buying this because, you know, I spent a bunch of money on paintbrushes because I've been getting back into mini painting. And so I bought a bunch of like nice paintbrushes. And then I borrowed my friend's Oculus VR last week. I'm like, well, I need games to play. So I got Beat Saber. I'm like, that's cheap. I'm like, whatever, Beat Saber. And then Half-Life Alyx was on sale for like $45. I'm like, I talked with Zetch for a while about it. I'm like, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm going to do it. So I ended up getting that. And then here we are. I just spent another $2.99 tonight. So I've spent way too much on games. On my fun money budget. I only have a small fun money budget. And that money is technically supposed to go towards my slowly saving up for the PS5. But here it is. I've spent like way too much money on stuff this month. But that's the life of an adult, right? Always spending money. Just the money is always leaving that wallet. Halo 3 is also now part of the Master Chief Collection on PC on July 14th. I'm actually kind of excited about that. Again, it's probably not one I'm going to jump into and play all the way through the story, but I just have such like a huge nostalgia for that because that was my first Halo game.
Have you played 2?
I played little bits of 2, never played through the campaign.
Oh my gosh.
I came into the Xbox like ecosystem with 360, and my very first game I ever owned was Halo 3.
The point I'm making right now is Halo 2 is available, and you have got to play the campaign of 2, okay? Especially through the Master Chief Collection, because they went back, they added in a bunch of extra cutscenes. It's like Final Fantasy Remake Halo 2 style, okay? Check it out. Super good. Super good.
Spend more money, Garrett. Garrett, you need to spend more money.
No, it's available on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass. It's free. The Game Pass I pay for every month. It's free. Okay. I mean, I'll just add to my pile of shame. I think I've mentioned like 5 games in this episode.
It's super short.
I'll never.
That game you could blow through it in like 8 hours.
Zech.
Drop it on normal. Feel like a superhero and just whip all the way through it.
Okay. We'll see.
Look, you owe it to yourself as a gamer to play through Halo 2. Like, Halo 2 is it.
Are you a real gamer, Garrett? Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you need to do this.
You do.
Okay. We'll see. And I saw Zetch added something else here, but that doesn't come out this week.
Comes out the same day.
What are you talking about?
17th.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it comes out on Friday.
Right, I always do the previous week, the 9th through the 15th, buddy. Get with the show. I can talk about it, though, because we both pre-ordered it, so we're excited about playing it. That's how we always do it. It's always the previous week's games that came out. Yeah.
I always looked at a week as like a Sunday through Saturday.
I look at it from when our show comes out, because that's all that matters in life is our show. Put that on the back of the box. This show is all that matters.
That's totally true.
My bad.
Man, I love it.
My whole life revolves around this show. Like it's like your weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So, my weekend is Friday.
Is that week?
Exactly. For me, that's how I live my life. You should see my calendar. It's
Friday is between this week's show and next week's show.
No, but it's last week. It's the previous weeks. I always talk about these are the games that you missed this last week. But this show comes out on Wednesday.
Wednesdays. I keep thinking tomorrow because I'm a Patreon subscriber.
Yeah, I know it's a little wonky. Once we added the whole Patreon tier thing, it made it a little wonky. But for everyone else, it makes sense.
Wednesday to Wednesday. Okay, got it. My bad. Bad.
There we go. We got there in the end. That one. But it's fine. We threw it on there because we both pre-ordered it, so we'll both probably be playing it when it comes out. Paper Mario, the Origami King, not the Origami Killer. It comes out on the 17th. And I tell you what.
Is that what I had wrote?
No, you had King. I have multiple times almost said, like, without reading it, I've almost called it the Origami Killer, like, multiple times. I don't know why, because it doesn't even make sense, but it's just what pops in my head.
It's a new Star Wars show.
Yeah, when I oh, the Bad Batch, yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
That's
what? I was
when
like,
I
oh.
scrolling through Twitter. I'm like, wait, what did that say? Okay, that's not no. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. That's better. Um, I this is a game. I kind of wish I'm super curious about it now. I am really interested just to get my hands on it and try it for myself because when I first saw the reveal trailer a few months back, I was like, oh man, like this looks really fun. You know what? I have budget. I have money in my fun money budget here. I'm just gonna pre-order it right here. And I made a mistake maybe of pre-ordering it digitally. Usually that's not a mistake, except for the fact that you can't cancel a digital pre-order. And then after the Nintendo Direct at the Treehouse that they did on what was it, Friday? I don't know about that. Watching those people do that, like that whole gameplay,
I
you
didn't
know,
watch any of it.
trailer that they did, I'm not as excited for it anymore. But again, it's like it also seems like one of those games where once you're in there and experiencing it, it could just be a lot of fun. It might be one of those because there's games like that. They're not fun to watch, but they're a
Yeah.
blast to play. They are more fun because of the puzzles and stuff, and that's what it is. There's a lot of like puzzles and stuff, and the combat. The combat's all puzzles. Like you're not just like it's not turn based like you normally would think. It's not just like random like smashing a button and hitting things. It's like you gotta twist this circle thing and get all your enemies lined up and attack and stuff. It's like it's really like convoluted, really, but in practice, like it might actually be fun to do. So I don't know. We'll see. I was a little put off by the Nintendo Treehouse last week, and I was bummed. I did all the research. I'm like, can I cancel my pre-order? No. Okay. Well, that's fine because it'll be interesting for us to have a discussion then. Like if you end up really liking it, I hate it, or vice versa. Like who knows? Like
Here's the deal.
um,
Here's the deal. It's Nintendo. Does
I
Nintendo really make bad games? Like what's like a really bad Nintendo game that you're just like I can never
Yeah.
play this game.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything other than like I did the beta for ARMS. I never played the full release, but I know ARMS didn't really turn me on.
Which is funny, but a lot of people did like it.
I know a lot
I
of
think
people did like it. Yeah.
Ironically, the only game I can actually kind of think of, or I actually ended up selling the game, which looking back in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have. I think I kind of overreacted. Was Paper Mario Sticker Star for the Nintendo DS.
Mm.
Like that game was mediocre.
Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't really like that one. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that, but yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. Tune in next week to hear our thoughts on that, I guess. So because I'll definitely be playing it this Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you said you pre-ordered it, so you'll be playing it, and we will get back and let you know what we think.
I'm excited.
So yeah, how about we get into what you've been playing? How about Zach? You know what?
J-Dog.
You lead us off. JJ?
You want me to go
Okay.
first?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, JJ's gonna just talk about The Last of Us 2. Same old.
Yeah,
same
right,
old.
I am.
let's get it out of the way. Let's
Okay.
talk about your Last of Us 2
Okay.
real quick. Go ahead,
Talk about
JJ.
Last of Us 2.
Let's get it. So
I feel like-
don't want to spoil anything. You feel like what?
I feel like Garrett and I have kind of dominated this entire podcast. So it's
You guys-
it's JJ time.
You guys have been talking a whole lot. Let me talk a little bit about a game that I love.
Yes.
The second greatest game of all time that was ever created, The Last of Us 2, the game that Zech Keenan will never be able to play for whatever reason, although I would love to loan it to you. Well, not my copy, probably like the Super Gamer Boys copy. I really want you to play this game so that we can get your opinion of it in the future. I think that would be a really blast of a podcast to talk about. I love it.
I have any desire to play that game.
I'm about 23 hours in right now, almost 24 hours in of this 40-hour epic game, and I'm thoroughly impressed by the character development and where I'm at in the story. The story has just been remarkably good, and it's so multi-leveled and multi-layered. I'm in love with the game. I'm blown away by how well they did with it, and I wish that more people would give it an opportunity. I know that like
You're talking about.
You know,
I'm like the only person that doesn't want to play it.
no, I know,
Nah.
I know some other people that feel the
You-
same way.
Zach, I know that you were on Twitter today, but the last couple months, if you haven't been on Twitter as much, there's been a lot of people who do
So
not
many
want to
hate.
play this game.
That's true. That's not. Yeah, that's true. I do remember seeing some responses from like other gamers. that
Oh, there's
follow,
death
and
threats.
it's kinda
Yeah, they
like, which is so over the top.
Neil Druckmann, Laura Bailey, and
I saw those.
someone else were like posting out like, actually, hey, like these are some of the messages I've been getting, like this sucks, and like straight up death threats, like, hey, I'm gonna come to your house, like kill you and your family and like rape you and all those disgusting, horrible things. It's like, what is wrong with people? Like, that's so messed up.
First of all, think about this, okay? You make a game
over a video game.
I'm not condoning that type of behavior at all. That is evil. Has no place, especially in video games. Like, back off. It's a video game. It's made for entertainment. Chill. Who is the primary audience of a video gamer? Like, when you think of a gamer, what do you think? Like, who is it?
Kids.
Demographic, right? Like a white male, probably in his early 20s, slowly maybe getting into like his older, for like rated M games, at least in his like anywhere from like 17 to like maybe 27, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is who your primary audience is. That group. That group, what I just described, is a very, more often than not, pretty conservative type of person. So when you make a game, I'm not saying you shouldn't make games with, like with any bit of homosexuality or people of different races and things. I think that's great. It's multicultural. Problem is when you make a game and try to shove that type of agenda into the face of that type of gamer, they're going to be a little upset because there's a way to do it and there's a way not to. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're going to tick off you're going to tick off a specific demographic that buys your games. It's kind of like, go ahead.
It's not being forced down anybody's throat. There's nothing like the agenda isn't being pushed the way that you're saying it. That's I'm not getting.
The main character is a lesbian.
So again, it comes down to what you said a moment ago when you said that it's about multicultural and like different perspectives and stuff like that. So it's not pushing that agenda. It's not saying like this is.
It's not like she turns the camera every 30 minutes, like, hey,
hey,
I'm a lesbian.
I'm still gay.
Yeah. No.
Score one for the lesbians.
Yeah, it's just that it's just taking and making a hero out of a lesbian character or whatever, I guess, that that you're running as or whatever. But it's not necessarily pushing an agenda. So I think that's maybe a misconception. That it's not saying this is the way we all need to be, like everybody needs to be gay now, or any of that kind of silly stuff. It's just that just happens to be who the character is, that she shares some moments with another female or whatever, and it's not really mentioned more than a little tiny bit. So it's never brought out tremendously. There's a little bit of kissing or whatever, but it's not something that, I don't think that's the major part of the story.
But I mean, like, you also
has nothing to do with the story.
The other parts too that you're also throwing too would be like the what is it, like the transgender in the beginning. That
which that was actually Neil Druckmann came out and said like there isn't a transgender character. Like, that was kind of like people assumed that a character was transgender, that it wasn't. Yeah, there was an assumption that a bunch of people made about one of the characters, and JJ probably knows exactly probably who I'm talking about, but like a lot of people came out, was like, oh, this person just based off of playing a game or photos and just made an assumption. But I think I forget where it was, but he's come out, whether it was an interview or on a tweet, and was like, like as far as I know, he's just like, they weren't necessarily like, they're not transgender. Like, it's just, think about it, like a female in the post-apocalyptic world needing to be just like, you're working harder, like you're going to be buff. Like, that's what it was. It was like just a super buff female who everyone just assumed was transgender. So yeah, at least so far in the story. I mean, and again, like, I'm not as far as JJ, so I don't know, like, he probably knows more, but I don't want to spoil any more of this story for anyone at all either. So yeah,
point made that I'm trying to make is that you got to remember who plays your games, and you're going to tick some people off. You just try to step outside the box a little bit. So
yeah, no. And I think that's one of those things, like, they probably knew what was coming, but I mean, obviously you anticipate people being upset, but you never are like, oh, I can't wait to get those death threats tomorrow. Like, that's so I think that's the most messed up part about it, is like, people straight up like saying just the most
Yeah.
disgusting things, and just because they can say it over the internet and they think they're like, they don't see me, I'm not saying it to their face, I'm going to say this
Stupid.
horrible, inhumane things.
Yeah, that's really dumb.
But
Anyways,
So what about you, Seth? What are you playing this week?
Dude, I finally finished Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, if you follow any of our listeners that follow me on Twitter and who are more likely than not to unfollow me after my comments about Last of Us Part 2, I do. I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake. It is awesome. I love it. Probably one of the best Final Fantasies I have played since. I probably want to say since 10. And 10 is like my favorite Final Fantasy game ever made.
Not a big fan of 15?
Oh, no, I love 15. 15 is great.
Yeah.
It's not 10.
Okay.
10 was 10 on so many levels, just like rocked my world in terms of how to tell stories. It was one of the first games to actually really introduce a lot of really heavy voice audio, like actual in-game dialogue, and not just like cutscenes, but like throughout, like just regular gameplay, like a lot of very cinematic, very beautiful. But all that ties into Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's like, okay, yes, it's a cash grab. Yes, they knew they were gonna just make a crap ton of money with this game, but they did it right. They did it in a way that I thought was actually very tasteful and was very. It drew out more in those characters. Like, for a person that played through Final Fantasy VII was like, okay, yeah, it's good for a RPG. I always kind of felt it was overrated. Going back and playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was like, okay, now this is how it should be done. The voice acting throughout the entire game was it's still kind of anime level quality, but it wasn't over the top anime, so you're not like just cringing at every single sentence uttered. It's still had a lot of heart, especially from Barrett. Like, a lot of his dialogue is very over the top, but especially as a dad, I relate to Barrett. Like, he's got, little Marlene he's trying to look out for, and how they kind of really expound on his relationship with his daughter and why he's really doing what he's doing. And they actually gave him a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I feel like him having an actual voice, like hearing the intonation of different things. Like, I feel like what little I played of 7 on my Switch, I was just like, half the stuff he's saying, I'm just like, what in the world? Like, what is he getting at? Or I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense. But then, like, hearing someone actually speak those words, I'm like, oh man, like there's so much emotion behind so much of what he's saying. He's just so emotional. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's a very charismatic dude. And then you have Cloud, who's like the opposite. He's not charismatic at all. In fact, he's kind of like an emo kid. Like, he really, really is like your high school emo kid. I don't want any friends. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But the way they develop him and actually kind of get him to have a better relationship with like his party, and of course Aerith and Tifa and Jesse, it was almost like you're almost like you're wanting Cloud to like fall in love with like one of these characters, and each one of those characters you're just like, oh my gosh, like you're super cool, you're super cool, you're super cool. And then the way they introduce characters and the way they get rid of some characters, you're just like, man, what is gonna happen? So some characters that were just like footnotes, which I know we've mentioned on the show before.
The 3 Avalanche.
Wedge, Biggs, and Jesse, they were in like one scene, and that was it in the very beginning. And they're like key characters throughout the entire thing.
They're like my favorite characters from the game. Like, they're amazing. Like, Jesse is like awesome. Biggs is awesome. Wedge is amazing. So cool. Wedge is so cool. I'm like, yeah, these guys are awesome.
The voice actor for Wedge actually is the voice actor who plays Badger in Breaking Bad.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, and obviously he does a great job. And, but yeah, I finally finished it. Sephiroth was a pretty tough boss. Like, dude, it took me I think he was the hardest. I didn't die very much in my playthrough, like in the boss fights, but got to Sephiroth and I died a lot. I was like messing with my materia, messing with my armor, just being like, okay, how can I optimize this? And ultimately ended up going with less materia and more just, I ended up using those astral bracelets, and that kind of bolster my defense a little bit more. So that was pretty fun. But that was like the beauty of the strategy of that game. Like, they got rid of the whole turn-based structure, completely chucked it out the window, not even a thing. Went straight action RPG with it, but still left in a lot of strategy on how you set your party up depending on what you're doing. And it wasn't really about, okay, I'm just gonna play as Cloud and hack and slash my way through a level. It was like you gotta learn how to play with the entire group. So you're switching characters the entire time. You're not, you're like, okay, if I'm gonna beat this boss, I need everybody to build towards a limit break. So you're fighting with this character, fighting with this character, fighting with this character, heals, you're checking meters, you're really having to manage a party while the action's going and not just being
There's a lot going on.
Okay. Yeah. It's very it's like playing chess, but both players are playing at the same time. So you're having to think moves ahead, without it's such a good RPG and very easy for anybody that's not an RPG enthusiast at any rate to actually still get in and really love it. Like it's the perfect, in my opinion, I think it's the perfect it's the anti-RPG. It's the RPG you make for the person that's like, oh, I hate RPGs, they're boring. Like this, you don't want to put it down. Like the story is always going.
Story's great.
Side quests were really well done, but they weren't too overloaded, and they were really evenly paced. I think my only gripe, if I were to have a gripe, would be like that last couple chapters were so not the rest of the game. Like it was like most of the chapters in the game are pretty smaller. They're pretty much the same kind of pace, same time frame. The last like 2 or 3 are like really long.
I know. You're like, oh, I have 2 chapters left. Oh, it should take me about this many hours, like maybe a couple hours or whatever. And then it's like, no, I have this many hours, like because they really jam pack a whole lot of content in those last. So you think you're almost done, you're not done. Like you have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so good.
I'm
glad
really
you
amped
liked
for the
it.
second one. Yeah, the ending was great. I can't wait for the second one. Like it ended at a really sweet, a very Fellowship of the Ring. I'm using a lot of Lord of the Rings comparisons, but very Fellowship of the Ring, where like you follow these characters through this really epic time. Things are really about to get good, and then it ends.
It definitely leaves you on like okay, what's next? What's gonna happen next here? Because especially me, for I don't know the story, I'm just like, wait, what? Like that doesn't make sense. Like that has me intrigued. Like I'm super intrigued. Like what is going on? Like what does this mean? What is happening? So
I thought for sure one of the characters wasn't coming back. I thought for sure. I was like, I thought for sure I was gonna lose one of the people before the game ended. So whether or not someone did, leave that up to you guys, the viewers. But man, stellar game, stellar music.
Good game.
Gosh, everything about it.
I know. I want the soundtrack so bad. I wish it was on Spotify because I'd listen to that all the time.
Yeah, it's good.
So good.
It's super good. You can find orchestrations of it. Like they really, honestly, like you can find orchestrations of a lot of those pieces, and like if you listen to Final Fantasy 2020. So, anyway.
Okay.
JJ's yawned like 5 times.
Sorry, JJ's ready to go to bed.
It's not your jam. I understand.
I'm so bored thinking about Cloud and slashing and hacking, and I don't know why. Like the whole RPG thing. You guys are.
Well, this is the RPG for you. Cool.
My son, Levi, was watching me. Oh, one fast funny anecdote is my son was watching me play. Levi, he's my youngest. He's 3. And he's like, Dad, what's his name? I was like, his name's Cloud. And he goes, that's a silly name.
Spoken from the mouth of a babe. He's a genius. The boy is a genius.
It's like,
good.
Wow, that's a silly name, Dad.
Like, yeah. No, you're not wrong.
And he's really articulate. He said it just like that. Like he said it just like that.
That's hilarious. So I have been playing Last of Us Part 2. I'm still digging it. I just got to kind of a big turning point in the story. I'm way behind JJ, but I am loving it so far. Yeah, the story is just so gripping. And honestly, JJ was even... I was telling JJ earlier today that I'm so engaged in the story that I dropped the difficulty to the point, like not all the way, which is really cool. So this is actually something I didn't realize. I've never seen this in another video game, so I actually kind of want to talk about it. But I ended up dropping the difficulty because I'm like, I need more of the story. And it's to the point where the gameplay wasn't too hard, but I was just getting so lost in the open worlds that it was like looking for bullets and looking for supplies, like just playing on normal. I'm like, I don't want to spend like a couple hours doing that. Like I just, as much fun as I had, I know last week I'm like, I love doing that. I could spend hours doing it. Now I'm like, the story just got to a point where I'm like, oh no, I need more story. And so I just want to be able to like have bullets and have supplies so I can just get some more of the story. But what's cool about the difficulty in there is there's 5 different categories. You can just drop it down. There's like a general thing up top that says difficulty, and you can just set it from like easy, normal, hard, very hard, whatever. There's 4 different settings. Actually, I think there's more. There's like 5 or 6. So there's like pretty wide range for the gradient there. It's kind of cool. But then underneath it, you can actually customize it. So you have your player difficulty, your enemy difficulty, your shooting difficulty, cool. Your supply difficulty, you can like there's 5 different categories. I don't remember all 5 of them specifically, but so I just dropped down the supply difficulty like a couple bumpers, so I just have more bullets, and I think I just put the enemies just down 1 notch. But I could have put it down like 2 or 3. I just put it down the 1 because I'm like, I don't need them that easy. I don't need them easy. I just want to be able to like have bullets and then like again get through the story stuff. And I mean, it's still to the point where because I was able to customize it like that, the game still has like challenges in different areas, which is still a lot of fun with like puzzles and stuff like that. And even some of the the bosses and stuff are still difficult to fight. But I just thought that was so cool. That's an accessibility option I've never seen in another game. Where you can customize each little part of the difficulty. It's not just one big, it's either easy or hard. It's like, it can be, normal, but this one aspect can be a little easier. So I don't know. That was kind of a cool feature.
That's cool.
But the biggest things I've been playing, which I didn't even spend too much time on. I had very, 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 very little gaming time this last week. But I was able to borrow my buddy's Oculus Rift, this VR headset, and dude, I want one so bad now. I'm like, nope, not now. After the PlayStation 5, that'll be like next Christmas's thing. I'll save it for the next year after this and get that next year. But dude, Oculus is so amazing. I immediately downloaded. I immediately purchased. I know. I immediately bought Beat Saber because it was like I was like, it's like what, $30 or something like that, and it was a quick download. I knew I could download. It was like a few megabytes, like a couple hundred megabytes. So like in 2 minutes, I was up and running. And I was having so much stinking fun. Beat Saber is amazing. I know you keep talking about it. You and your family play all the time. I'm in love with it. I wasn't able to play a ton, like I said, but it is so much fun. It is really hard. Like I was used to be back in the day super good at rhythm games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Like I was pretty killer back in the day. I was like, it's like riding a bike. It's the same thing, right? No, not at all. Like in the rhythm the only way it's the same is that you have to keep a rhythm. Other than that, it's completely different. Yep. And so I want to play it more, and I'll probably talk about more next week then if I actually have a chance this week to play. But the second thing, and I know Zach, you're gonna be so proud of me, I played Half-Life Alyx. Like I said earlier, it was on sale. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. $45. It's normally like $60. Why not? Picked it up. I only played through the first chapter. There wasn't really any combat at all. I've used a gun a few times, but right away I'm like, oh man, like this game is freaking gorgeous. I was amazed at how well it ran on my system, too, because of how graphical powerhouse it is. Granted, like I have a decent graphics card, but my processor, that's my problem. I have a good graphics card and good RAM, but my processor's not the best. Like I didn't realize when I bought it what I was getting. But it's run all the VR stuff just fine, and I'm playing on like high settings, I think on Alyx, even like medium to high. I think I customized it a little bit, so it's like kind of partially medium, partially high in some areas, but it's been running smooth, running great, and I just have the Rift, not the Rift S, so it's not as good looking as it probably could be.
No, the Rift actually is better than the Rift S. The
Oh,
Rift
really?
has
Okay.
OLED lenses in it, and the Rift S doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, then, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty dang good. It looks amazing in there. And it feels amazing. I think the craziest thing, and I haven't played a VR game in a long time. I used to have a PSVR a couple years ago. But jumping in this and then having a conversation with someone and they're looking you dead in the eyes, I'm like,
Right?
like even just a normal conversation, like it's just like, hey, how's it going? Like some like random dude, like I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? Like he's giving you your equipment. Oh, go over there and pick up your gun, get your gloves. But he's like just looking you dead in the eye. I'm like I don't know.
Yeah.
This shouldn't make me feel uncomfortable because this is just a normal conversation, but it does kind of make me feel uncomfortable. I think because you're not actually talking, like your character's talking, so it feels like he's talking to someone else while staring at you, and it's like. Yeah, it's a very strange thing to get used to again, because the last time the biggest thing I played before was Resident Evil, so when they were looking at you too, like they were ready to kill you. But at least in this game it's a little more cordial so far, but it's still awkward. But man, I'm having a blast. Yeah, I can't wait to. I played through all the way through chapter 1, which is basically just a tutorial, so I'm excited to get into more of it and actually start shooting some stuff.
I can't wait for you to find yourself in a dark tunnel and all of a sudden
Scared.
realize that you're not alone.
Don't say that. Oh boy.
Yeah, my wife has watched me and laughed many times at me playing that game.
That's screaming like a girl. That's gonna be me.
No. And like dropping clips, trying to slam in my gun.
Yes.
So good. That's a possibility of being able to stream yourself playing any of that Oculus on like on our Twitch.
I'm gonna say no, only because VR takes a lot of processing power, and I was surprised that my computer can even handle what I'm doing, at least with Alex. I don't think I could do both at the same time, and I don't have another computer that I could stream from. My MacBook Pro is like 10 years old and barely runs Google Chrome, so yeah, so I unfortunately no, not unless I had a second PC probably, because my PC I don't think can handle doing both. That's a lot. We had a similar issue when we did those Halloween videos a couple years ago or last year with when we tried to do, what was it, the Blair Witch video. There was some random little, and that wasn't even streaming, that was just recording. So it was like recording and playing at the same time. It was too much for it. So but yeah, so I'm loving it. I can't wait to talk about it more next week when I have some more gameplay time, hopefully. But that's all I've been playing.
For you. So cool.
I'm excited. VR, it's so good to be back in there. So good to be back in VR, and Half-Life Alyx is such a huge leap from anything from PSVR. Even though like Resident Evil 7 was amazing and there's some other cool experiences, like this is like holy cow. Like this is such a huge jump.
I feel like every major bigger game, like you consider like the Batman, at least the other bigger games have all kind of been like a proof of concept.
Yes.
Up until Half-Life Alyx, where Half-Life Alyx is like, okay, time for Daddy to show you how it's done. All right, you little kids, step aside. We're gonna produce the very first big AAA title for this thing. And if you look around, you'll notice that you can actually do like a wall and like put your hand against the wall. You get the force feedback as you touch the wall.
That's
go like that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed that like actually added so much more immersiveness because PSVR doesn't have rumble in the controllers, but with Oculus, like I pick up right at the beginning, you pick up a marker and there's a window, like they use it as a whiteboard, but it's just like a regular glass window. I picked up a whiteboard marker and immediately started like scribbling, like I was like Garrett was here, and like every time the marker hits the board, like you feel it, like for the force, like it rumbles a little bit to make it feel like you're tapping your hand against a wall, or like when you go to grab something, like it just a little bit of haptic feedback, a little bit of vibration, and it's just like, oh, like I grabbed something, I just touched something. Like it's not just me like clawing at air. It's like, oh no, like this is actually like tangible. It's so cool. So
and like and the those controllers are super comfortable.
Yeah. So good. And way more intuitive than PSVR too. I really like the intuitiveness of just like where everything is, how easy it is to hit buttons. Yeah. So far, so good with Oculus. I'm loving it.
Once you get that third sensor, that's a game changer.
I'm going to try. So I sent it to you already, but there's this way to trick it into 360 tracking with basically putting one on each corner of the room. I actually bought a 10-foot USB extender for like $6 on Amazon, or like USB 3 extender, and other people said it worked. And so I'm gonna give that a shot and see if I can do the 360 tracking with just 2 sensors, because I don't have $100 to drop on a sensor, and it's not even my Oculus. I'm not gonna go buy a sensor first.
I know, right?
It's not my Oculus, so I'm gonna see if that works. And because you were saying 360 tracking is kind of key to the game too.
Maybe if your buddy will sell you his Oculus.
It's just sitting there in his closet most of the time.
If I hang on to it long enough and just don't give it back to him and just quote unquote forget,
He might.
is that
I forgot
okay?
that I had your Oculus.
I mean, if I just hold
Is it
on to it
yours?
long enough, maybe he'll forget. Because I mean, he never played it, right?
Yeah.
No, that'd be sweet. That'd be cool. Maybe let's talk to him, Ryan, if you're listening. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening this week. We're running long because we had some good discussion in the news and a lot of cool stuff to talk about what you're playing. So we're gonna skip the question of the show. We did have one, as written in by a good listener, Chloe. Thank you so much, Chloe, for writing in. We'll hit it later. I'll make sure of that. But if you haven't already, like we've mentioned earlier in the show, go check us out at patreon.com/supergamerboys. You can support us over there, $1 a month, get episodes early and ad-free. It's super awesome, and be super thankful for that. supergamerboys.com/store. You can get awesome merch, just like our coffee mugs, as seen on Zetch's Instagram. You can get sweet t-shirts, as seen on JJ's body right now. Look at that. That's beautiful. I haven't even had, so I kind of redesigned it a little bit, because I changed the type of t-shirts they were using. They were using like a different style of t-shirt that I actually ordered one and didn't like it. I'm like, oh, I don't want people buying this garbage. So is that comfortable? Is it soft?
This is
Feel good?
super soft, super comfortable.
Okay. Because mine wasn't. Mine was like rough. Mine felt like sandpaper. I'm like, this sucks. So I like changed the t-shirt, and I was hoping they were better.
No, this is fantastic.
Awesome. Cool. So check out our merch. Newly renovated. So you can rate and review us over on your favorite podcast app of choice. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. That way you get the next episodes when they come out. Go to supergamerboys.com, Twitter and Instagram at supergamerboys, facebook.com/supergamerboys. We're all over the web. But more importantly, you can find each of us individually. I'm on Twitter at gmorlang. JJ's over on Twitter
At JJ Purdom.
And you can find Zetch over on Instagram and Twitter.
And Twitter. Zetch Keenan.
There we go. Go give them a follow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Star Andrews for our logo. Check her out on Instagram at Ground Floor Graphics, facebook.com/Ground Floor Graphics. And that is our show.
Well, you
Well,
can't
guys,
forget one more time. You got to hit hashtag Super Gamer Boys giveaway.
Oh yeah. What's Zetch doing?
He's
taking a selfie.
Take a selfie.
Oh, nice. Gonna enter the sweeps,
And
the
show
giveaway here. So yeah,
You're
it
not
is a
doing
very very end of the show. So at this point, 99% of you have already turned off this podcast. But we do have a giveaway.
1%ers.
You 1%ers. We're here for you. Remember, take a selfie with your favorite game. And hashtag Super Gamer Boys giveaway. Tag us at Super Gamer Boys. The giveaway ends the 15th. That is Wednesday night. That's when we will stop counting entries. So please send in those pictures, because I love seeing what all your guys' favorite games are. And now, that is our show.
Right on. And I'll make sure to put
Peace
my
out.
name in there a couple more times before Wednesday. So I have 2 more days. So I'll
You're
just
disqualified. You're disqualified.
I don't like it when you run things, Zetch. You're always doing that to me. All right.
Sorry
Well,
about
you know what? Forget it. I won't do it. But we'll look forward to be able to pull the name out of a hat and figure out who did it. So for this week, that's the show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Once again, that guy that looks kind of like a hobbit, that good-looking stud him, that is Zetch Keenan. And the tall, lanky guy, that's Garrett. I guess Garrett Morlang is what some people call him. He's kind of like the butthead to my Beavis. So I don't know if that's accurate or not. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm JJ Purdom. We are the Super Gamer Boys.
And we will catch you on the flippity flop.